Hi, this is a video about JavaFX and what it is. So it's a brief introduction to what JavaFX can do for you. So JavaFX is an open source platform for creating what is called rich client applications, right? So it's really for building desktop applications, programs that are running on a computer with a lot of processing power, such as your average laptop or personal computer, your desktop computer, something that has a lot of power. So it's not meant for running on a web server or something like that, or running in the cloud. It's for rich application where most of the graphics and everything is run directly on the computer that runs the program. So in that regard, it's kind of seldomly used today that we have rich client applications, but there are some rich client applications like the Microsoft Office, like Word and PowerPoint, stuff like that. These things are still running directly on your computer. Your browser is running, for example, Windows Explorer, and a lot of other programs are running on the computer, but today a lot of stuff is going online. So rich client applications is a nice place to start developing programs because we have everything at hand on our own computer. We don't have to worry about different places on the internet where we need to fetch different things. So it's an easy way to get started programming. So that's why we start out with JavaFX. So in order to make JavaFX work, we need to have the JDK installed. So JDK is the Java Development Kit, which is an implementation of the Java platform, which is being actively developed by Oracle. You can download the JDK from here, from the OpenJDK, or you can download it from Oracle. But there are some limitations to the usage at Oracle, and if you look into the terms, you often have to pay if you want the Oracle version. So normally we would download it from here and use the open source free version of JDK, so we can do whatever we want with what we actually implement in Java. So JDK is Java itself, and there's a lot of stuff in Java. And in the old days, some years ago, JavaFX was actually part of the JDK, because at that point Java wanted to have the ability to create nice user interfaces directly in Java. But because Java is used on so many platforms and so many different types of computers, they wanted to separate the user interface development from the base Java itself. So that's why things get a little bit more complicated now when we need to work with JDK and JavaFX, because we can download and install the JDK, but we also need to manually install JavaFX as an external library. In the old days, Oracle also developed JavaFX. Now they have it's this OpenJFX that actually develops it now. So they kind of gave everything away. So now it's developed from here. There are different ways to install it, but before I show you that, I want to show you what you can actually do with it. There's a really nice thing here where you can look into this community. So you can see they've been created a lot of different stuff here, and these have all been created in JavaFX, and show you what you can actually do with JavaFX. These are all add-ons to JavaFX, but they use the JavaFX library to actually show you what you can do. So for example, these are Gantt charts for doing project management. These are maps, as you know them from Google Maps. These are 3D visualization tools that you can use. This has to do with some deep space stuff. I'm not that much into that. This is object graph visualizer where you can create three-dimensional graphs like this. Calendar, different kinds of forms, powerful media player. JavaFX is not only for creating graphical user interfaces, it also have connectability to, you can implement a browser directly in your own program, and you can also do there's a powerful media player built into the JavaFX framework, so you'll be able to play media directly using JavaFX. So JavaFX is not only for creating beautiful user interfaces, it's also for interacting with the internet and also for interacting with things like videos and music and sounds and stuff like that. Yeah. So you can connect to Twitter here. You can do font icons, these kinds of tiles, and also there's a very cool gaming engine. If you've been working with other gaming engine, this one is actually pretty good. So I would definitely recommend that if you want to work a bit with games. You can also add this game engine on. And the creator of this also has some videos on YouTube that you can follow. And he actually created a lot of games himself. And it's pretty good actually. It's pretty cool. So you can check that out if you want, but it's just to show you the big possibilities you have when you're using JavaFX. So what if we weren't using JavaFX? Yeah, if we wasn't really using JavaFX, we wouldn't have the ability to create things like when we open Explorer, we have windows and stuff like that. Then we would need to do everything command line. So it would be something like this, where we would have a command prompt and we would run our Java program, and all the interaction with the program would be to write commands here in this black screen application. And that's kind of demotivating to do that, so that is why it can be nice to have some graphical user interface, and it's also a lot easier for ordinary people to work with. So if you're doing any application that has to interact with real users and not programmers, you would want to have a graphical user interface. Oftentimes most users would be hopeless when it comes to using something like a console application where you type commands. For example, if we do this command, directory command, so this way we have to do, for example, if we want to see hidden files, we have to do these special commands, and doing command lines is not very good for ordinary users. So that's why we need something like this. So that's pretty cool. Also, the JavaFX is quite modern in its approach. So I'll do another video about what is called FXML, which is a format used for describing user interfaces in JavaFX. And it's a nice way that we can divide things into what we see on the screen and the actual code that's doing all the work. So we can have graphical developers working on the user interface, and we can have programmers working on the functionality of the program. But I'll put more, I'll talk more about that in another video. You can download it from in here. This is the last thing I want to show. So in order to download the runtime and SDKs, you click here on download. You come to this web page, and normally you would go for you could go for the long-term support. You have to be a bit careful here. You have to look to see what do each platform actually support, because this is JavaFX version 11. So you have to see which versions of Java does it actually support. So you would have to look into this to try to figure it out. There's also a newer version called javafx 15, which is the latest release. So you have to go into more detail if you want to know what it can be, which versions of Java it can actually be used for. Right now I'm using JDK 14, but 15 will be out soon. So maybe this will work best or this will work best. So if we go into these release notes, we should be able to see what the support is. So if we look into the release notes of JavaFX 11, there's nothing really here, but if we go into the general release notes here, we can see that it says from JDK 11, it's JavaFX is no longer part of the JDK. So it requires either JDK 10, which even must be the OpenJDK version of JDK 10, or JDK 11. And they actually recommend that JavaFX 11 is used with JDK 11. And as we're using JDK 14, it might work, but it's not made for JDK 14. So it might be a good idea, instead of downloading version 11, then look to version 15 and look at the release notes here, and it says that JavaFX 15 requires JDK 11 or later. So I would have liked to see that they actually put this information more up front, because you can easily get lost in all these versions. But if you're using JDK version 14, you should definitely download JavaFX 15. So how to download it? So this is version 15. So we have to click the version that fits our computer. There are different options available. There's something called JMods, which is a special way to pack frameworks and libraries and stuff like that. But for now, I would like to use the normal SDK instead. It's a bit easier to integrate when you're using IntelliJ, I think. You need to choose also the correct operating system. For most people, that would be Windows x64. I don't think there's a lot of people running Windows with the 86 architecture anymore. So I don't even think you can get Windows 10 with 86 architecture. So for most people, and for me, this is the correct download. Of course, if you're using a Mac, you would need this one, or if you're using a Linux, probably know that you need this one. And you can also download documentation to browse it offline, but today when you're on the internet all the time, probably you don't need that. You can always look the documentation up online, but it could be something that you would want to do. So I'll just download the SDK, and it doesn't take long. So let's go into the folder. So I have the OpenJFX here, so I'll just unpack everything. Let's see, extract all. And if you look what it really is, you can see it's just some files that we need, and these are DLL files, so these are for Windows. So it's kind of made into different folders here. There's the bin folder, which are the things that need to run in order for making it work with Windows, because for Windows is different than Mac. It needs to interact with Windows, in this case Windows 10. It needs to interact with creating windows in Windows. And also on the Mac, it needs to create windows in another way. Things look differently. You've probably seen on the Mac, everything is different. So it kind of needs to translate between JavaFX so that it looks the same on all platforms. The bin part is just the part that Windows uses. If we look into the lib part, these are the libraries that we need to import in order to make it work with Java. So this is the folder that we actually want to know about. This is the lib folder under JavaFX. So right now this is situated under my downloads folder, which is kind of not the place I want it to be. So I need to move it somewhere where I can easily reference it from Java. So I'll just move it, Control X for move, or like cut. And then I will go to, I think program files would be the correct place to put this, and then just paste it right in there. Program files is protected, so I need administrative privileges. I'll just click continue, and I have JavaFX SDK 15 here now. And you can see I also installed Java, and I also have an older version of the JavaFX in here, so I think I might move it into the same place. Just need to say OK, and we can see, and that's because since last time, see, like 1.5 months ago, there's a new version of the JavaFX library. So that's fine. So now I have, and I can have both in there. I just need to reference the right one. So that's how to install it, and in another video I'll show how to actually use it as well.